Good morning, Peter Coleman. Welcome to Yellow Shelf.
Thanks so much, Joanna, for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Peter, I've had your book probably for about a month now, and I know it's out this week
Yeah,
officially, so it's ready to go. Congratulations, Sins of the Filthy Rich. I want to say filthy like it's a dirty word.
yeah.
Congratulations, Peter. Tell us all about the book.
So Sins of the Filthy Rich, the title is fairly self-explanatory. So what it is it's a deep dive into the long and storied history of incredibly rich people doing terrible things. So obviously it's very much in the zeitgeist at the moment, and it was sort of inspired by, all the rich resentment media we're seeing at the moment, shows like Succession, Saltburn, all the White Lotus, etc. And I thought, well, it'd be really interesting to look at like the true stories, of it. And obviously not just contemporary stories, but throughout history. So the book goes back 2000 years or so. So I go, Roman emperors, Genghis Khan, Vlad the Impaler, right up to like Imelda Marcos and, recently, Elon Musk, etc. And so hopefully, the book is aimed to be entertaining. It's aimed to be funny, but also informative, and hopefully also a bit inspiring as well.
Yeah. And I'm glad you touched on some of those profiles because, yeah, there was definitely a lot of historical and contemporary figures. I feel like there's a figure in there for everyone.
Yeah, yeah, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, I structure the book around the seven deadly sins,
Yeah.
which was an interesting way to structure it because obviously, some sins were a bit more prevalent and easier to write about than others. Like greed, I could have done the whole book on greed. Uh, Sloth was probably the hardest because, while there's no doubt many lazy, very rich people, they don't do anything. So they're not sort of interesting to read or they don't make the news, basically. But no, I go right through the seven deadly sins. And I really try to, of course, a lot of figures that you can poke fun at, through the sort of absurdity of how they've lived. Also, some sort of darker stories in there as well. But yeah, I definitely tried to do a very broad sweep,
Yes.
various cultures, various times of history,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah. And look, my kids are in middle school. They were looking at, even the cover, and there's different, individuals they recognized and others
Yeah.
they didn't. And we were talking about the book. So yeah, there's definitely a bit in there for everyone. Peter, tell us a bit about you. You've been described as a cultural studies consultant and nowadays a kind of a seasoned author. Tell us
Yeah.
what we need to know about you, Peter.
Well, I'm not a cultural studies consultant. I have a PhD in cultural studies.
Oh, okay.
And that's from many years ago. I now work
Okay.
as a consultant in the not-for-profit sector, which is my day
Oh,
job.
okay.
And my first book, so I did my PhD many years
Yeah.
ago. I basically went straight through uni and did my PhD. So it was done when I was like 27 or so. And then by that time I was totally burnt out on
Yeah.
writing. I wanted to be a writer when I was younger, but then sort of lost the urge. And then when the pandemic happened, I ended up writing my first book. And it got Weekends with Matt, and it got picked up by a firm press. It was very grateful for that. And then, yes, now I've written several
Yeah.
books. Well, this is book number four.
Yeah.
And I've sort of fallen into a bit of the humorous non-fiction genre. So my last book was Australia's Most Bizarre Crimes.
Yes.
So talking about ridiculous, hilarious stories from, criminals throughout Aussie history.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, now a much broader sweep with this one with Sins of the Filthy Rich going throughout, world history and so forth. But yeah, so I've got a bit going on, but no, I mean being a writer was always a sort of it's really a dream come true. I sort of always pinch myself.
Yeah, well, keep writing. And those books you mentioned,
Yeah.
Weekends with Matt, and the crime book, they're available on your website. I was having a
Yeah.
look at those. They're still
Yeah.
available. That's great. Tell us about, you mentioned, the book is witty. I've found myself laughing a lot. And
Mm.
I even found myself at times like slightly envious, those thoughts of thinking about, Oh my God, I wish I was in first class. But then
Mm.
quickly realizing actually I don't want to be these people. It was a real journey to read. It was really good.
Well, and I mean, it's a really interesting thing because obviously the last sin I talk about is envy, actually,
Yeah.
which I thought was a really interesting one because I talk about obviously, I give an example of a very envious, super rich person, Lee Radziwill, who was Jackie Onassis' sister, and her enormous envy. But I do talk about how envy, as much as I think we have every reason to be
Yeah.
very angry at the filthy rich and have every justification
Yeah.
speaking out against them. I
Yeah.
do wonder to what degree envy does sometimes play a role, but I also talk about how the reader, if you have the leisure and time and ability to sit down and read a book, you are in an enviable position as
Yeah.
well, but by, the standards of many people in the world.
Correct.
So, I do talk about that. But yeah, it's what I suppose is a big thing I'd like people to get out of reading the book is that being wealthy is not itself an admirable quality. It's not an
Yeah.
admirable trait. And,
Mm.
it's become this thing that, so many of us aspire to. It's sort of seen as the big goal
Yeah.
of capitalism basically is, to achieve enormous wealth, and that very wealthy people are these sort of heroes of capitalism. And I suppose my point being that we should not be admiring people for just being rich. We should
Yeah.
not want as our sole goal in life to become rich. It's not whether you have wealth, it's what you do with the wealth you have is the big question. Yeah.
Yes. That is powerful in itself. I
Yeah.
think that's a really great takeaway. Peter, tell us, I mentioned your website. It's a great resource to learn about you and your books. I also follow you on Instagram. Where do we go to if we're curious about you, curious about the book?
Yeah, my Instagram handle is Peter Coleman author. Coleman Coleman,
Yeah.
author, and so you can find me on Instagram. Please give me a follow there. My website is the same, petercolemanauthor.com, and you'll see plenty of, all the links to how to order the book. There's a whole page with Sins of the Filthy Rich of all different ways you can buy Sins.
Yeah.
Out now. There's some of my media on there as well and things like that, contact as well. So yeah, just Peter Coleman, author, and on Instagram and my website.
Awesome. Well, I'll put that in the show notes to make it easy for anyone who's listening around the world to connect with you. Peter, my last question without notice, will you keep writing? Like I know you're in the middle of enjoying this one.
Hmm.
Is there ambitions? Is that in the future?
Yeah, so just one quick thing I forgot to mention for the
Yeah.
international audience. The book is being turned into an audiobook, so it will be available on Audible at the end of August. So
Okay.
it's coming out, so you can pre-order on Audible now. I forgot to
Sure.
mention that. So
No, that's
easier
good. That
for
is really good.
international audience. But am I writing more? Yes. So in a short answer, I've actually already signed my next book deal.
Ah,
But I've had like basically four books come out in 4 years. And
yeah.
so my publisher was like, okay, here's your book deal. Now I need you to take a break.
Yeah.
And she was like, because otherwise you'll just burn out and
Yeah.
die. So yes, I have another book. And if this book does well, my plan is to actually do kind of a sequel to
Okay.
Sins, because I
Okay.
think there's a lot more to talk about in this whole area, and there was plenty I didn't get to cover in
Yeah.
Sins. So I have thoughts about this because I think it's such an important topic at the moment.
Yeah.
So yes, I love writing. I will write as long as they keep giving me book deals, basically.
Oh, that's so good to hear. Well, I'll
Yeah.
keep being that reader to keep reading when you write. But take a break, enjoy this launch time and the exciting time of your book. Thank you for joining us at Yellow Shelf. I really hope you come back in the future when the other books come out.
I would love to, Joanna. Thank you so much for having me.
Cheers.
Okay, cheers. Thanks.